our last Yoga Happiness, no, Yoga Happiness. It's our last yoga talks for, what month are we? September. I'm trying to keep everything straight. So it's the last discussion about happiness. And so as I was telling you, what I'd like to do, what I had originally intended was for the beginning of some of the yoga talks, I actually show you the TED Talk or the video or whatever that we would discuss. So since I have better Wi-Fi here, that's what we're going to do. This is a TED Talk by Dan Gilbert from a 2014 TED conference, and it's called The Surprising Science of Happiness. So we're going to watch this. I'll restart the recording and then we'll talk about it. So I really enjoyed that video. One of the things that, the reason why I picked it was because it was more scientific than some of the things that we've been talking about the past three yoga talks. So, initial reactions, initial thoughts.
I never really thought about what he was offering.
The concept of synthetic happiness and
Yeah.
the way that your expectations are usually wrong. What you think is going to happen, yeah.
And how he ended it about how we manufacture our experience.
Yeah.
So in essence, we manufacture our happiness.
Mm-hmm. Which I think is, well, so let me back up before I put some of my own opinions on things. So, do you have, as he was talking about things, did any specific experience or example from your own life pop into your mind?
No, not per se.
Two things that came to my mind when he was talking. So when I quit my job and decided to, be a yoga teacher, the level of happiness that I found after making such a huge decision in my life was unexpected. Going from, here's the funny thing. So when Erin and I were talking about me quitting my job, so again, I went from making six figures to not. And so my biggest concern in my mind was the budget, and how much money, I'm not going to be making this much money anymore, and so on and so forth. But that has been the least of my concerns. And the happiness that I found in other things, and I even find happiness though in saying, well, we need to be more mindful about when we go out to eat. And so going out to eat is now special instead of something that we do all the time, I mean, of course there's a difference between having a 9-to-5 job or 8-to-7 job or whatever it is. I was working constantly. So going from that to having, being self-employed and being able to choose the kind of jobs that I do and doing something I'm passionate about, the happiness that I feel because of that, it's unexpected where I felt the happiness from. So that's one example that I've got. And because I made the choice originally because I just wanted I felt that I was part of the problem in the job that I was doing. And I wanted to do something where I felt like I was that I was actually helping people and part of the solution to the things that I saw that were wrong in the world. And yes, I find happiness in that aspect, but there's so much more, like the happiness that I feel is so much more and is broader than what I originally thought.
Do you think the people that you were working with and serving had an effect on your
Yes.
happiness in
Yeah.
comparison to the people that you're working with and serving?
Yes,
Yeah.
100%. And that truly was my choice in leaving that environment. A lot of it was the people that I was working with. And not so much, I mean, some of it was the clients, but a lot of it was more the company that I was at. I guess like I don't know, like I'm comfortable, I feel like I can make anything of any situation. And I can kind of fit in with most people, or choose not to. So I don't know, I felt like there was a little bit more flexibility in the way that I engaged with clients versus the way that I engaged with my coworkers, my boss, and so forth. Yeah, so that was a huge difference. And now I guess I kind of, and you're right, so I guess pointing that out is a big thing, because now I kind of create an environment that puts people that I probably am going to like in that environment. Yeah.
That's why I like coming here.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's,
Similar people.
yeah, right, yeah, I mean, you know, it's, I guess a yoga studio in this kind of a business sort of self-selects the type of people that are gonna be here. Which, I mean, you know, that has its ups and downs as well, because, you know, part of my, you know, one of my soapboxes is, you know, trying to communicate with people that aren't like you and trying to, you know, get out of that bubble. But, you know, there's only so much you can do, like, yeah. But then the other example that I've got is, he talked about, I can't remember exactly what it was, but he made a comment about, you know, like you would never assume that basically like a bad situation is going to make you happy per se, but so when I had my hysterectomy, that was such a wonderful experience. Like I don't even know how to say it, but like that was one of like the best week or two of my life, was the whole experience around having a hysterectomy.
Really?
Because not only was it because I actually got to have time off of work, but the experience of like being taken care of, and kind of, you know, it was sort of like forced relaxation, but also I got to learn about my body, and like although there was, you know, your mind doesn't remember the pain as much. Like I know that there were abdominal muscles that I was finding because of that procedure, that I didn't expect it to be that painful to just lay on my side. I didn't expect it to be that painful to walk up and down the stairs or go to the bathroom or walk around the block. But at the same time, like, you know, it was an enjoyable experience. You know, Erin got to help me, and I'm usually like the very independent person. I don't need anybody, I don't need you, I can do it myself. But then it was kind of nice to like have, like, and he also enjoyed taking care of me, you know. So it was interesting like that, and you know, I walk fast, and anytime we walk anywhere together, he's like, "Why are you running?" And I'm like, "I'm not running." But when I was healing from my hysterectomy, he and I walked at the same pace, you know. And so he's like, "This is enjoyable."
This is refreshing.
Yes, yeah. And so, you know, I was walking with a pillow and all of that, and I was like, you know, after like maybe half a block, I'm like, whew. But I, you know, at the time I enjoyed it, and even looking back on it, I enjoyed it. So I don't know, it was that again was really unexpected that would be an enjoyable thing.
It was glorious.
I would say yes, I would say it was glorious, yes, I have nothing but fond memories. Although, you know, thinking back, like the gas from a hysterectomy is extremely painful, because they have to fill up your body with carbon monoxide, dioxide, anyway, they have to fill your torso to basically they put space between your organs to pull out the right stuff. And so it's not gas like you would normally have like in your bowels. So like they give you these chewable pills to like calm down gas, but I'm like, it's in my body, it's not in my bowels. So eating this whatever the pill was, like that's not helping. Like there's gas that's like between my lungs and my heart right now. You know, it was, yeah. So that was probably the worst part. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of anything.
It's interesting to me, the one thing that he talked about with the amnesia patients, that to me was really interesting, and I think that probably overall proved to me what he was talking about, where you, people who truly do not know whether or not this thing is something that they own, and they don't know whether or not this thing brings them happiness, but they just say that it does, or they say that it doesn't. You know, they artificially make themselves happy with the thing that they think that they own. And and I think that it sort of goes back to what we've been talking about these past few weeks, in that, I mean, that sort of, and this was not my intention, but it sort of makes my case for, you're not seeking happiness, it's already in you. And that the concept that, and I don't know what the extraneous circumstances might be, or the exceptions might be, but I think that what he's sort of saying is that you can make yourself happy in any situation. That almost fundamentally, we're hardwired to find the good things in even the shittiest situations. I think that's kind of what he's saying. By by picking, a guy who was in prison for 37, 38 years for a crime he didn't commit. And yet he still found happiness in what I perceive to be a really horrible situation. But then it also goes to your point, like, that you made a couple times ago, where perhaps it is a choice. You choose to say that I'm going to be happy with this situation. And maybe you don't say those exact words. But perhaps, we are, I think that it's almost obvious that I think that we are hardwired to make good out of something bad.
Best of.
Yeah, because as humans, as a human race, we've gotten this far. We started out, I'm gonna, overgeneralize and oversimplify, but I mean, starting out in a cave with 2 rocks and not knowing about fire yet, and then, discovering fire, creating a wheel, all of these things, and the idea of natural selection, of course, and natural selection isn't necessarily that the strongest survives, but and this I think even proves his point as well, is natural selection is truly the individual that can adapt to their environment the best. And so if you are adapting to your environment, the idea that you're adapting to the environment is assuming that you're naturally picking the more positive aspect of the environment. Because if you give in to the negative aspect of the environment, then you die. You don't make it. And so whether or not you are consciously saying, okay, I'm making the best of the situation, you really still are, because you're choosing to live. You're choosing to survive. You're choosing to, find a way to breathe. You're choosing to bust open the window when there's a fire, and leave the building. I think that there's a lot of validity. Obviously, he has research behind what he's saying, but I think that if we think about who we are as humans, as social animals and things like that, you truly, like, I feel like we're driven to find happiness, or, I don't know, I mean, I suppose you can argue that maybe it's a different word, but for the sake of what I think, you know, I think it goes back to, I do believe that the Dalai Lama's right. I do think that the purpose of life is to find happiness. I think you could argue that maybe each person's definition is a little bit different, and the way that they go about it might be different. But yeah, I think that it seems to me that what he's saying and what the Dalai Lama is saying are the same thing.
And I think there's an element of acceptance.
Yeah.
With where you are
Mm-hmm.
this day in our situation,
Mm-hmm.
in your situation.
And
And
that
again, it goes back to that choice.
Yeah.
Do I want to dwell in all the negativity and the woe is me and the victim
Right.
state of mind, or do I want to make the best of my situation and
Right.
move towards a higher level of happiness?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, and perhaps there are people who find happiness in wallowing. I don't know, but then arguably they're still happy in, you know, what I would assume would be, you know, sort of slogging around in their own muck. That may be their version of happiness. You know, who am I to judge?
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, there's obviously a danger in being in accepting where somebody else's position is and where they've chosen to be or where they are, because perhaps that person doesn't have the strength to ask for help. Maybe they would like to get out of that situation, but they're afraid to ask for help. They don't know how to ask for help or something like that. So there's, you know, there is a danger in just assuming that somebody has chosen that spot to be in, or that they are content, or that they are happy. Because I mean, we all put on a face, you know, at times, and just say, oh yeah, you know, like you don't want to bother anybody else, you know. So yeah, no, I'm fine. When you're not,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, like I went into work on Monday and everybody's like, oh, how's your weekend? And so I said, usually I'm always like upbeat when I walk
Mhm.
in, good morning, and kind of put on that face
Yeah.
sometimes. So they said, how was your weekend? And I said, it was a little rocky. And just the reaction, like nobody knew what to do with that. And I wasn't going to expound on what made it rocky.
What if somebody had asked you? Would you have told them details?
No. Not there. I mean,
Yeah.
if you had asked, yes, I would tell
Yeah.
you, but yeah, not there.
Yeah.
It was just kind of funny. I think, and I didn't say, I was being honest.
Yeah.
But I could tell that it sort of made them uncomfortable. Like they didn't know exactly what
You know
to
what?
say, but
But good
they
for
didn't
you.
have to fix it.
Right. Yes.
Like the weekend was over with. It's Monday now, so
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Well, you know, and I think good for you, because I think a lot of times, you know, just saying that, I like your point. Like they didn't need to fix it. You weren't asking for help. You were answering a question. And I truly believe that if you don't want the answer, you shouldn't ask the question. You know, I wholeheartedly support people answering, "Hey, how you doing?" with an honest answer. You know, and you know, I think it's up to, the burden is on the person who asked the question to figure out how to handle getting an honest answer. You know, because you know, if you were to have said that to me, you know, I need to instantly think like, you know, what do I say next? Because I have to wrangle with my own discomfort over, do do I help you? Do I, oh, well, are you okay? I don't know. You know, like, being more concerned about you than my discomfort in you saying something honest.
Right.
And so, you know,
Now, see, I could see if with, the check-ins that we do,
yeah,
if someone did say, oh, the weekend was a little rocky,
yeah,
I could see you saying something like, oh, well, I'm glad you're here.
yeah,
Or something, bringing it back to the present.
yeah,
And so nothing really needs to be said. Maybe
Right.
later, like, hey, is there anything I can do for you? Or something
yeah.
later. But
Yeah, because I think, I mean, unless somebody is, because just saying like, I had a rocky weekend doesn't imply that you're looking for help,
right.
you know.
It's a statement.
Yeah, there is no, because what's the difference between saying, my weekend was kind of rocky and, fine. They're equally as, like, there's a period at the end of both of those, like, if you were to say like, oh, I'm fine, I wouldn't be like, oh my God, what can I do to help?
Yeah.
Clearly fine isn't good enough, there's truly no difference in those two statements. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I highly recommend honest answers with that. Because also, I mean, there's a little bit of me that likes to see how people are gonna handle that too, honestly. Yeah. So, well, we've done the time. Thank you. Excellent. So again, next week, we're gonna start with, we're gonna start with, tell me something good. And you don't have to remember and work out the story and try to remember something good to say, just whatever's in the moment. And then we'll watch a TED Talk, and then we'll discuss it, and then that'll be it. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed that, please click like or subscribe, then hop on over to patreon.com/yoga happiness for more content. You're probably already there if you watched the video. I want to give a special thanks to my Patreon patrons, Chris, Nancy, Lauren, Athne, Jeremy, and Marianne. Thank you so much for your support. I will talk to you next week when we'll have new topic, a new format, and we'll be talking in a new room at the new studio. In the meantime, choose happiness. Talk to you then.